My name is Ethan Roberts, and I'm 27 years old, living in Portland, Oregon. I've always loved camping and hiking. Getting away from the noise of the city and immersing myself in nature feels like a reset button for my soul. Last month, I decided to spend a weekend in the remote Tillamook forest. I've been there before, but this time, I wanted to explore a new trail, one less popular and far from the usual campgrounds. I'd planned for solitude, but I got something far darker. I arrived early Saturday morning, parked my car at a small clearing, and loaded up my backpack. The trail was barely marked, but I had a detailed map and compass. By mid-afternoon, I found a secluded spot by a creek to set up my tent. It was perfect, quiet except for the sound of running water and birdsong. I ate a quick meal, sat by the creek for a while, and then decided to explore the area before it got dark. As I wandered, I noticed something odd. About half a mile from my camp, I came across a series of deep scratches on several trees. They were too high up to be from an animal like a bear, and they looked deliberate, like someone had carved them with a knife. The strange part was the pattern. It was the same 3 slashes over and over again. I felt uneasy but convinced myself it was just someone's idea of a joke. By the time I returned to my tent, the sun was setting. I built a small fire and tried to shake off the strange feeling. The forest around me was growing darker, and the usual sounds of wildlife were fading. It wasn't long before I noticed the silence, too silent. No crickets, no rustling leaves. Just the crackle of my fire and my own breathing. It was unnerving, but I told myself it was nothing. Maybe the animals had moved deeper into the woods. Around midnight, I heard it. A faint snapping sound, like a twig breaking underfoot. My fire had died down, and the shadows around my tent seemed to stretch forever. I froze, straining to listen. Another snap, this time closer. It wasn't an animal. The steps were too deliberate. Someone was out there. "Hello," I called, trying to sound confident, though my voice shook. No answer. My flashlight was in the tent, so I scrambled to grab it, shining it toward the direction of the sound. The beam cut through the darkness, but I saw nothing. The woods were empty, or so it seemed. I tried to sleep but couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every rustle of leaves or gust of wind made my heart race. At some point, exhaustion took over and I drifted off, only to wake up to the sound of something brushing against my tent. It wasn't loud, but it was close. Too close. I held my breath, clutching the flashlight like a weapon. Whatever was outside moved again, this time circling the tent. My brain screamed at me to stay quiet, but I couldn't take it anymore. I unzipped the tent just enough to peek outside. My flashlight flickered as I scanned the area. At first, I saw nothing. But then, about 20 feet away, I caught a glimpse of a figure. It was just standing there, barely visible through the trees. I couldn't make out a face, just the outline of someone tall, wearing what looked like a hood or a hat. My flashlight flickered again, and when the beam steadied, the figure was gone. I sat frozen for what felt like hours, clutching a small hunting knife I packed. I debated whether to wait until morning or leave right then, but the thought of walking through the dark woods with whoever, or whatever, was out there kept me rooted in place. When the first light of dawn broke, I packed up my camp as quickly as I could. My hands shook as I stuffed everything into my backpack. I kept looking over my shoulder, half expecting to see that figure again. The walk back to my car was the longest hike of my life. Every crackle of leaves, every shadow, made me jump. When I finally reached the clearing where I parked, my heart sank. The driver's side window of my car was smashed, and all 4 tires were slashed. Whoever had been out there knew where I was. I didn't stop to think. I just ran down the dirt road, hoping I'd find another camper or someone who could help. After what felt like miles, I saw a small cabin with smoke coming from the chimney. An older man opened the door when I banged on it, and I told him everything. He let me inside and called the sheriff. While we waited, He mentioned something that sent chills down my spine. "You're lucky you made it back," he said. "Few people who wander off that trail ever do. Locals don't go near it. Too many stories about folks disappearing." To this day, I don't know who or what was out there with me, but I've never gone camping alone again.